Thank you. Welcome to the City of Gloucester's Clean Energy Commission meeting. This is Wednesday, December 14th of 2022, and we have a quorum present, in fact, more than a quorum present, so we can begin our official meeting. My first duty is to read this required statement. This meeting is recorded by video and audio in accordance with state open meeting law pursuant to Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022. This meeting will be conducted by remote participation. Additionally, all votes taken by the Clean Energy Commission during this and future remote meetings will be by roll call vote. And as of the last meeting, we've decided that reading off all of the phone numbers and so on that you could call if you wanted to join the meeting by phone doesn't make sense because you won't hear them if you aren't already on the meeting. So we will proceed now to introduce the members of the commission who are present tonight. First of all, there's me, Candace Wheeler, I'm the chair, Deborah Darby, Linda Brayton, Linda Saunders, and Sam Zergabel. And if other members arrive during our meeting, we will be able to introduce them as they appear. I am expecting Bob Myers to appear.
He's here.
He's here.
Oh, you're here? Okay, good. Bob, see if you can get your picture up.
He's here.
Is up for us. It might be, Candace, you might want to check your view up in the top right,
Oh, okay.
switch to a grid maybe, rather
Okay.
than the, it's specifying on the
Yeah.
speaker.
So gallery would do the trick?
Yeah,
Okay, here we go. So now I can see everybody and thank you. Linda Saunders, can I once again ask you if you would be willing to take our minutes?
Sure.
Thank you very much. Do we have any minutes that we need to approve at this meeting?
Not that have been completed.
Okay, well, we're very grateful for all that you do on that, and you know, we recently were able to approve a whole big bunch, so I feel very good about where we are standing right now. So the first thing that I would like to do tonight is to offer David Fields, the new Director of Community Development, an opportunity to introduce himself to us. And we are very excited to be working with you, David, in the months and years to come on all of our clean energy and climate projects. We have tremendous respect for the Community Development Department in Gloucester, and the staff is so good. We're really lucky. So David, the floor is yours.
All right, thanks very much, Candace. Can you all hear me?
We need to get your volume up just a little.
Volume up a little bit. Okay. Is that any better now?
A little bit. Gemma, is there anything you can do on your end to bring up the volume there?
Not
sounds-
really. You can also try turning the volume up on your individual
Not much.
computers. I don't know if you're already up, Candace. Sometimes
It
it's at the
sounds-
top of your keyboard.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good to me in terms of volume.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'll just go for it. Hopefully you're all picking this up.
That sounds better.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for
Yes,
having me
that's
this
good.
evening. As you mentioned, yeah, we do have a great team over in community development. I'll just give you a little bit about my background for those of you I haven't met yet. I've been here, I think, about 4 months now, so settling in nicely, working great with the team. Everybody's been exceptional. Prior to starting here in Gloucester, I was with the town of Danvers. I was the planning and economic development director there for, I think, 4 or 5 years. Previous to that, I was in the town of Lexington as town planner. I spent about 4 years there as well. And before that, I was in the town of Arlington. I'd been a few other places before that, but very short stints, mostly for temporary positions. So I have a lot of municipal experience. I hope I bring a lot to the table in terms of planning and moving things forward in terms of management and administration within the city. Look forward to working with you all. Do you have any questions for me about background or moving things forward? I'm also very excited to be working with Gemma in her new role. So that was very exciting for all of us. She's been great so far.
Well, I'd love to know a little bit more about how the community development staff and the sustainability director position will be interacting. Will all of the clean energy work be focused on the sustainability director position, so that Gemma will be our main contact?
Yeah, I think the goal going forward is Gemma, as sustainability coordinator, will be the point of contact for the commission. And also part of that, most of, if not the bulk of the work plan for the next few years will be out of the CARP plan that was developed recently.
Mm-hmm. And
So
I don't know.
Gemma will be working directly with me and as the community development director as well.
Terrific. And is the position that Gemma used to hold something that will be filled, or is there, sort of a loss of staff in some ways, even with the growth of this really important position?
No, it will be filled, which is critical. Obviously, there's a large gap there, especially Gemma has some big shoes to fill. But we hope to get that posted as soon as possible. We have a few vacant positions open now, but given the way everything's been going, coming out of COVID, as it were, there's a number of open positions in the city. So it's catch as catch can, but we're hoping to get some strong candidates.
I have one other question, and that is, as we look at questions like Gloucester's possible future role in offshore wind, obviously we're talking about something that has big economic effects, that I know that the fishing community is concerned about, and also offers some huge opportunities for multiplying marine-related jobs. Do we have any way of sort of trying to keep our community development director? I think it's Mr. DeStefano, right? And keeping him in close touch with, us, and working with him on some of the economic opportunities that are represented by, green technology coming to Gloucester in one form or another.
Sure, yeah. It's early days yet, obviously, in the wind game, particularly for Gloucester, but Sal Stefano is the economic development director in community development, so I work with him. He reports to me directly, but Al Catone, actually, of the Fisheries Commission, is a liaison with the wind community, so he has his ear and nose and palms to the grindstone as it relates to the pulse of the fisheries community as it relates to wind. I do hope, there's exciting opportunities for us in the future, but for where we are right now, I think Salem's currently the test bed, and we'll see where it goes from there. I think it's too early to say where it's going to go for Gloucester.
Yes, yep, that makes sense. Well, does
yes,
any other commission members, anyone else have a question for David? Okay, well, David, thank you so much for being here.
Sure.
And we are very excited about working with you and keeping up the momentum. Gloucester's done some very good things in the clean energy area, and it just has whetted our appetite to do more. So,
If I could just, one quick question.
yes, Bob.
David, we have opportunities here of doing some building of some Jones Act vessels. Is that under your purview?
Sorry, what was that? Jones Act vessels?
Right. So there's barges that go from ports out to the wind farms, and we have the ability potentially and the interest to perhaps build some of those Jones Act compliant vessels. Is that under, sorry. Why did someone say, uh-oh? Oh, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
I think I understand.
You're breaking up a bit.
Okay.
I can hear Bob. I think I understand the question. So I think anything like that would likely be private
Thank you.
party fall under my department. But we'd be willing to work with any partners on economic development going forward, whether they be private boat charters or investment in the harbor in any way, shape, or form. We'd be willing to sit at the table.
Okay. Thank you.
I also have just one maybe comment to share since David's still with us. As far as like pursuing grants, what's the best avenue for bringing grant opportunities to the attention of community development or our sustainability director? What comes to mind? The Massachusetts CEC does have proposals out for community engagement planning grants that include solar and some of the other activities that we're looking to pursue.
Sure. Yeah, I think, any grant opportunities that you find that we're not currently aware of, or even if you know that we are, but maybe just want to see where we're at, bring them to the attention of Gemma. Gemma can bring them up to me certainly, and we'll work with the mayor and our grants team going forward. I do want to plug for upcoming 2023, where we'll be undergoing a citywide comprehensive planning process. So that's going to take a large amount of focus in terms of the overall planning within the department and my different divisions, as well as the city as a whole. That being said, it's not that we wouldn't apply for grants during that time, but hopefully during that process, the CEC and its individual members and as a group can participate in the public outreach for the comprehensive plan as well.
Could David, sorry to have said goodnight and then draw you back in, but both David and Gemma, what will the relationship of the CARP plan that has recently been finished be to this comprehensive planning process? Is it sort of seen as being part of the comprehensive plan, or do we have to be watching hard to make sure that other parts of the plan coordinate well with the CARP?
Yeah, it will absolutely be part of the plan, as well as our harbor plan that we're trying to wrap up early next year, and everything else that we've done. Anything recent, realistically, the first task of this overall comprehensive plan process is to look at all the background data, research, and any plans that have been created previously to incorporate all the good work and initiatives coming out of those plans into this master plan, as it were.
Good. That's wonderful. Glad to hear it. Because we're very excited about the potential of the CARP plan to propel us forward, and didn't want it to get lost in the creation of a new comprehensive plan.
No, absolutely understood. I think we can forward the goals of the CARP while incorporating any goals that are long-term into the comprehensive plan.
Terrific. All right, now for real, David, thank you so much.
All right.
Go
No
have
problem.
dinner.
Okay, thanks very much.
Good to meet you tonight.
Nice meeting you all. Bye.
All right. Did I hear somebody wanting to say something before I move on to the next item on the agenda? Okay, good. We will go forward. So the next item is an update on the upcoming stretch code. A new edition of the stretch code is imminent, and Gemma will provide us with a brief update on the timeline and the resources to better understand this new state stretch code and the opt-in possibilities for a specialized stretch code. Gemma.
Hi. So I think many of you know a lot more about this, honestly, than I do in terms of what the content of the stretch code is, but I was trying to get a little bit more information about what the adoption of the stretch code looked like previously, so we have an idea of what that process would look like in Gloucester. So I just want to give you a little bit of the timeline and also on the existing stretch code and how that will be, when that will be updating, because changes are coming actually very soon in terms of the existing stretch code. And I've definitely, spoken to our building inspectors. They, see that coming down the line and they're trying to rally to meet that. But, it's certainly a challenge. It's a pretty tight timeline. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. So just timeline-wise, pretty simple stuff. The update to this existing stretch code for any community that's already opted in to the stretch code, which at this point is, most Massachusetts communities, including Gloucester. On January 1st, the residential stretch code updates will go into effect. July 1st, commercial, and then July 1st of oh, excuse me, that's meant to be 2024. There'll be a phase in for some additional requirements. The specialized opt-in stretch code, as it described, it's an opt-in code. So that process would look very similar to what the process of adopting the previous stretch code was. I'm trying to get a little bit more information from Joanne on what the exact pieces would be required in terms of going through that process, what that would look like. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, one moment.
No problem.
Sorry about that. I was getting a call through my Gmail. And it was ringing. I needed to find the tab and close it out. Multiple tabs has been a recurring theme today, as Candace knows. But yes, so just to give you all kind of an idea of the timeline, because I know, I've heard from you that it's on your minds. The specialized stretch code in particular, it needs to be, voted in. And then they recommend about 6 to 11 months of a buffer between adopting and actually implementing. And there's 2 potential implementation dates in the year that you adopt it, which is January 1st and July 1st. Whoops.
Gemma, when you say it needs to be voted in Gloucester, who would that be? The city council?
Yes, the city council. So it's a similar process to how the city adopted the stretch code, but it would be the specialized opt-in stretch code. And in terms of the exact requirements, what I have heard so far is that it would be a public hearing at city council referred to city council subcommittee on ordinances and administration, and then it would be a simple vote of the city council. But I'm trying to get a little bit more confirmation and get that a little firmer from the city clerk. So, the Clean Energy Commission's role in this can be to, look at that language, look at the updated code, understand what the pros and cons are, help communicate that information to the public, communicate that information to the mayor, and communicate that information to city council if city council were to take this up and discuss. And then the last piece, pretty quick presentation. I just wanted to give you where you can actually find the updated language and also some resources for understanding it. So the new language, it's on mass.gov. This is the link right here, but if you Google specialized stretch code or stretch energy code development 2022, it should come up as like the top result. And on that page, and the link is here as well, and I'll send this around to you. Excuse me, but on that page, you'll find a link to a webinar recording that was introducing what's in it. So if that's an easier way for you to kind of digest the information, they do have a pretty good presentation kind of highlighting, what are the major changes, both in terms of the updates to the stretch code that Gloucester's already opted into, and in terms of the specialized stretch code and sort of how much further that goes.
So, Gemma,
Yes.
Hi. I'm remembering where you mentioned the building department, building inspector and so forth. The last time we went through this, we did end up opting up, to the more stringent code. The building department and the building inspector played a huge role in the whole thing. In fact, my personal sense of it was that if we didn't have their buy-in, we wouldn't have anybody's buy-in. So I'm just hoping that we maybe meet with them at some point, but that we definitely have them in the picture, and hopefully we can connect with them too.
Yes, I very much agree with you. And I think you're right in that their buy-in would be important. And I think that they do have quite a lot to say on this. I don't think that there's, they are, going to have to incorporate the updates in the existing stretch code. And then, there's time to talk about this specialized stretch code. And definitely we want to bring the building department folks into that conversation.
Gemma, do you think it would make sense for us to invite, the building inspector or somebody from the department to a CEC meeting, or is it better to give you some time to, to touch base with them one-to-one?
Yeah, I don't know that we want to put that on the next agenda per se, but I think eventually, we'll want to have that conversation. And I mean, it's on their radar. I've spoken to them, and they're doing, their research as well and trying to understand it for themselves and what the pros and cons are to that.
Okay. That makes great sense. I did have a thought, and what the heck was it? About the new stretch code. Oh, I know what it was. As we think about some of the things that CEC could be doing over the next year, one of the questions is, will the new stretch code apply to all municipal projects as well as residential and commercial? If the city's building the building, are we bound by the same regulations that others are bound by?
I would think so, but I'm not sure. I would have to follow that up.
Yeah, let's find out, because we've been talking some about an ordinance that would focus us on making some kind of a municipal statement of intent to do the maximum possible amount of renewable and efficient construction when we build our buildings as a city. So it would be good to know whether we're subject to the stretch code, the new specialized stretch code once it is adopted, and that'll give us some guidance on what additional language we may need in order to assure that the city continues its well-established process of being on the front edge of green construction and renewable energy. So
just
well,
a quick
thank you,
question.
Gemma.
No,
I actually, sorry, I see, I know Sam and Linda both have hands
Linda.
up for a
Oh,
bit.
good. Yep. Oh, now I see the hands. All right, let's start. Linda, do you want to begin? Linda
Yeah.
Sanders.
Well, back to what Linda Brayton's comment was, and also yours, I'm not clear as to what is the timeline or what is the next step? What are you looking for the CEC to do? It sounded like you're already speaking for the building department, and Candace brought up that point, so that we're kind of not going, going off on our own mission and not meeting in the middle.
Yeah, I don't think there's a major next step at this point. I think I've just heard your all interest in this topic and wanted to give you a little information about what the timeline was that is coming down the road. And, the opportunity also to kind of take a look at that. Take a look at the language.
Okay, so your timeline, it's not up there right now, but you had January and July to timeline goals. Obviously,
So-
it doesn't look like January is going to be met.
Yeah. So
Okay.
those are just the two intervals in each year that they recommend that folks start up, right? So, and then you would want to buffer before that of 6 to 11 months after adoption. So if the city were to adopt, you would wait 6 months and then the next 6 to 11 months, and then the next effective date, that would be when the code would actually go into effect.
All right, and it's an opt-in, but wasn't there a consequence if one did not opt in?
So currently, I have not heard anything. There's potential for some future grants to be tied to being opted in to the specialized stretch code. But that I've seen or heard, there's nothing at the moment.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Okay.
Sam?
Yes, Sam.
I was just gonna mention, so for my construction supervisor's license, I have to do continuing education. The last one was a lot on the stretch code. Before I go, I think that it really is a question of the building department, because they will be the one enforcing this stuff. And if they want to bring up their enforcement level and have the staff and funding to do that, that's really up to them in some ways. I think we can make a recommendation. The reality of the stretch code, of opting into the stretch code, I think is more expensive construction for everyone in Gloucester. And that's the con, is every construction job is going to be more expensive. Get in this time with the world economy the way it is, that's a tough swallow for some people, but also I still lean for it, because I think that as from a legislative or a municipal standpoint, we need to do everything we can to try to make a change. So
You know,
Sam, is there-
it's coming back to me that what we actually did as a commission was to recommend another halftime, I think it was, position for the building inspector to deal with the stretch code.
mhm.
So
Mm.
our places where we could help out, at least by recommendations.
Yep. That might be a very important thing. Sam, I just would like to ask, in your work in the construction supervisor role, does the life cycle improvement in the cost of electricity and energy usage in a building that has been built to these specialized stretch code standards, does that factor in? You're saying that it's going to make construction more expensive for everybody, but it will also make living less expensive for everybody.
Exactly. Yes. Good point. Good clarification. Yeah, absolutely. It'll make houses. I mean, the big thing is the HERS rating. So it's gonna control people to make their houses more efficient, which ultimately reduces the ideally electricity, but also fossil fuels that they burn for their homes. So it's a step in the right direction to make homes tighter and require less heating, basically.
Mm. And, as time goes on, I hope we can develop figures for people so that they can see, examples of, if you're a resident, with moderate income in the range of X to Y, and you build, your building costs are increased by 10%, your carrying cost per year will probably go down to,
Yeah,
such and
so we
such.
do that now with like weatherization and insulation work that we do. But then also like, I bet that there's something you can do with a HERS rating that'll say that. If you dive into it, I bet you could figure out something. But Mass Save sponsors a lot of that insulation and weatherization stuff. So they have a lot of vague but solid but good enough estimates. They've done all the work, so you can estimate, insulation will save you this much, or weatherization will decrease your bills by this much, so that stuff's available on Mass Save. It's not directly tied to the HERS rating and the stretch code.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm sure you could dive into it, but
Mhm. Well, as we work on the idea of how to bring more publicity that's available to the general public about some of these things, we can think about, how we could get this information out to people, because it would be too bad to have a lot of opposition to adopting the stretch code that was based on the fear that construction costs and renovation costs were going to go soaring upward, without that balancing reality that operation costs are going to go steadily downward. And it's just hard to know, who do we talk to? Who do we aim the letter to the editor to, or the educating webinar to, in order to reach the people that are making decisions about what they're going to do when they build. So let's be thinking about that, and trying to figure out the best venue. The one thing that was great about the CARP plan was how much those involved in it found the different segments of our population that needed to be aware of the planning process and contribute ideas to it. And maybe some of those same contacts could be applied to spreading the word about the pros and cons of the new stretch code, and people may be willing to support the adoption of that specialized stretch code more if they understand that it's not a one-way street to spending more money. It's
the alternative is that you can still build tighter, cleaner houses without using the HERS rating, and that's where I think a lot of the cost comes in. Is people, if you're getting these, this is actually, I mean, in a way, it kind of sponsors the HERS program, because it makes everyone have to abide by these HERS tests before and after construction, which finances their existence. So I'm kind of like at a push and pull with some of the stuff that perpetuates business for the sake of creating more roadblocks for people to construct, and then costing people more money to create these systems when we could just build things better. However, in some cases necessary. So even as I'm talking, I'm like going back and forth with it. So I don't know.
Well, it's a little bit like that old saying of don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. And Sam, you've just kind of said that very clearly in this setting, that, if we could get a lot of improvement in efficiency and even partial renewable energy, for individual building projects like solar on the roof or something of that sort, the HERS rating is wonderful, but you can still do a lot of good, without necessarily being at that really elevated standard. So let's be open to that.
Or
And
and
Bob-
there's other things about the HERS rating that have loopholes. Like, for instance, what happens with us a lot is people skimp on insulation just due to construction costs, and then they have to get solar to get their occupancy permit. So they won't come to us to get solar. We have to do solar to get occupancy to bring the HERS rating down. So it's not really like a bad thing that these people are doing solar, but it's just a matter of, there are loopholes in the HERS system where construction people can cheap out on insulation and then get solar, and it still covers their HERS rating. So it's like anything. I mean, again, like you said, not necessarily perfect, but better, maybe,
Bob Myers, your hand is up.
Yeah, thank you. I'm concerned that we're coming to a potential vote where we need to get our building inspectors on board when we're taking on one hand, on the other type of approach to it. I mean, first of all, from my talking with people around various other municipalities, the default of things is the destiny of things. And in this case, we're actually pushing this uphill. We're looking for an opt-in. We don't have it like we had for aggregation, where it was automatically opted in. So my first point is that I'm concerned that we don't have a completed assessment of the benefit versus the takeaways from this organization, or we don't think this is really in the best interests of Gloucester. So I'd like to really pin that down, understand that, so that we can, not be sort of arguing the case in real time when we're working with the building inspector.
What kind of information do you think we would need in order to be able to make the case more clearly?
Thank you. So what I'm thinking to some of the comments that were made earlier, I'm thinking that anytime that we make a case for, I think you're calling it a HERS initiative, that we also present the cost savings over what time frame alongside of it, so that it's never just we think HERS is great, so we want to do it. What we do is we say, we think HERS is great in this area, so we want to do it because over 5 years, you're projected to save 40%, something like that.
Mhm.
So who are we convincing? Like,
Yeah.
So, sorry, if I can just add, so what the Climate Action and Resilience Plan says about the specialized stretch code is that there will be consideration of it. So when we were working on the plan, the language was not out. The language is now out. So I don't know that your job is to convince anyone that we should opt in. I think the job is to consider it, take a look at it, dig into it, and learn, right? So it's to put it on your radar and to help you to connect to some resources to learn about it. And what that process would, from my end, I want to help you understand what that process would look like. And from your end, I want to help you learn about, what is actually in the code and what would it mean for Gloucester.
from Gemma's recommendation, I did a quick Google search and 14-page summary of the new language came right up. So we can all take a look at that, and it looks pretty clear.
Terrific. Thank you
So
for doing that, Sam.
I still want to emphasize the cost benefit ratio.
Mm.
Both
That's
sides
just
of
like a
it.
very difficult thing to model, and it's subject to so many different variables, right? If you're talking about new construction or an addition or whatever, like if we were to say, oh, you're going to save $500 with the stretch code, it's just not really like, I mean, that's something that I do like all day long, is give people financial paybacks on investments in insulation, weatherization, electrifying their homes, getting solar on their homes. And it's like, we can't just say in Gloucester, we could create some average, but it would be crazy vague, you know what I mean?
So I'm surprised that the people that are proposing the stretch code haven't already done those kinds of numbers.
Well, in some way, yeah, again, it's just so subject to 1,000 variables on people's homes and what they have existing equipment. Like, your existing equipment in that, like a free energy audit from Mass Save would give you a lot of that information. But it's all subject on your existing insulation and your existing systems in your home. I'm not trying to shut it down. I think it's a great idea, but I'm just saying, I think this is why it's not already there, is because it's subject to so many variables.
Well, so what our job is right now is for this, we as a commission individually and whatever, study up as much as we can, come up with our own sense of it, talk with the building department, who will certainly have input that we want to hear. But we're not making decisions for an individual homeowner or whatever. Oh, this is going to work 500 for you or 1,000 for you over there. We're making decisions to recommend to the entire city to go with this. But we're not there yet because we haven't done the homework.
Mhm.
And that's our next job, is to do the homework. But it can't be directed to individual people. It's got to be directed to an overall picture in the city, which is what you can get from people like the building inspector.
That I support that. That sounds good to me.
Good, great.
Terrific.
Yay.
Thank you.
Whoa.
Thank you, Linda. Okay, now, Bob, the next agenda item was to discuss your ideas for using yard signage to promote the Gloucester local green electricity aggregation product.
Great.
Do you want to
Now,
fill us in
I
on your
have-
thoughts?
Sure, I have the signs up on my screen, but I have never actually loaded something up. Do you think I'm going to be able to present that so we can look at it together?
Yes, I
Let's see, what do
can, I think think
there
you
some kind of
should
share
have
screen?
permission to share already. At the bottom of your screen, do you see, there's a button, it's a square with a little up arrow, and right in the middle, it says share screen.
On the Zoom screen, I see no share screen. Oh, share contents. Share
Yes,
contents.
try that. Try that.
Only the host can share in this meeting.
All right, well, let's see. Sharing settings. All right, hosts and panelists. I think that should work. See if that
And I'll
to there.
say the screen. Okay, so I'm going to now I think you can see my screen.
So far, I still see the gallery. I wonder if, could we change from view to, in the view icon in the upper right-hand corner, if we change from gallery to,
I don't think you've effectively shared the screen.
oh, here
I think
comes
you're there.
something.
You might be there now.
The little wheel is turning, but it says screen broadcast.
So I would just click stop broadcast, actually.
Gemma,
Okay.
could you go in your email and find it? Find
Yeah,
it?
let me see if I can grab it from my email. and
Yeah,
share.
then you can share it.
Terrific, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Don't be too excited yet. See if you can find it.
Yeah, actually, Bob, do you want to just re-forward it to me so it's at the top of my inbox? And I'm just
Sure.
opening up my email up right now.
Yay.
Oops. Oops. There we go.
It's on its way.
Anybody want to sing a little while we wait?
I can talk a little bit about it while we wait.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, so
That makes sense.
so very quickly, had excellent conversation with a designer in Brooklyn who works for Good Energy. And we went back and forth, and I provided him with the input, which he actually already knew some of in terms of Arlington and Melrose and Somerville and what they had done. And so he worked on some signs, and I pushed back, and he worked, and I pushed back and suggested and ran it past somebody and came back again. And we came up with a set that I think in the end really at least satisfied me. And I really wanted to know if you all like any of these more than the others. And the idea is that it can be a lawn sign and or a window sign. So it could be something like, for those of us that are urban dwellers, we could be 100% green electricity through aggregation, and we could put a little sign in the entranceway to our apartment or something like that. Are we displaying now?
Yep, I'm able to share if that's, if you're ready.
We're ready.
Share. All right, can you all see that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so you'll have to sort of handle the screen display, Gemma, since I don't have control of that screen.
Yes, I got it.
And you can see a set of these. I hope that you all have looked at them and sort of thought about which ones you prefer. But I'm open to listening to any ideas that anybody has on these signs.
Can I make one thought? I love the look of the first one, the one that's up right now, set your sails. But I don't think it says enough about what you're setting your sails on. And I
Or
like,
what you're opting up to.
yeah, exactly. So I like the second one. Because it says specifically opt up to 100% local green energy.
Mhm.
And then, you know, having the email location you can go to read more about it. You know, so I like 2 for that reason. Now let me look more carefully at 3 and 4.
I don't think that's clear enough what we're saying.
Do you think 2 is clearer, Linda?
I do.
Okay.
And the little scan thing, that's all well and good, but it doesn't tell us, you know, it doesn't tell us enough.
True sales high.
What's the
Yeah.
4? I'm not able to scroll this. So.
Yeah, I can't either. So we'll just look at them one at a time as Gemma scrolls it for us. I think that this one has the same problem as number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
number 2 is the only one that has the
So far.
clarity on it.
Right.
No,
Yeah, that's pretty clear, isn't it? Yeah.
it is.
Well, a quick question, does the general public know what CEA is?
Okay. I'm not sure I do, Deb. Is it Clean Energy Association or clean?
Community
Electric aggregation.
electric
Is that
education.
important for this?
I
yard
think
sign,
the
though?
term aggregation needs to be clearly positioned so that everybody might understand what we're looking to opt into.
You don't
You
have
know-
to set your sails on this. It might be confusing even.
Okay, so maybe set
Oh,
your
we can
sails off.
Keep the city seal with the sailboat and the wheel and all that, but we don't have to say set your sails. That gives us
Okay,
space to say something else.
all right, something like whatever the CEA acronym stands for,
Yeah.
clean energy aggregation or something like that.
Isn't
What-
it
what's the-
community electric aggregation?
That we
Yeah.
need to be very clear about that if that's this marketing approach.
Well, it's on the website.
Right, that's what I was thinking too, is
Yeah.
that as soon as you click on that, as soon as you hold your iPhone up to that little
But
QR code.
But
You
you
know,
won't be
it'll take you
doing
to-
that. I mean, if you're driving by in the car, it's, you know, or you're walking
Yep.
by, and you have to go up to somebody's house and, you know, squint. I mean, that's just,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. So is your thinking that we should spell CEA out at the top instead of set your sails?
Or we could just put a line under the local green energy, just say like community aggregation.
Yeah,
Or
yeah. So
But
as long as
position
the address is there, you know,
I think you should position at the top, set your sales, we're kind of wasting some adding advertising space.
yeah, so.
What
That's,
if you
What's
put-
the timing? What's the timing for wanting to put out these signs? I mean, you know, we're heading
So-
into winter.
So the timing is actually a couple of months ago. You know, like they say, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. Because it's in November that it switched up to 33%. Now, that's not going to stay that way forever, right? 6 months, it's going to be different, up or down. We don't know, but probably down. So now is the very best time for people to say, hey, I want to go for it, because now you get 100% green for less than half of what people without aggregation, towns without aggregation would be paying for 24% green. So it's yesterday is the best time.
Mhm.
Mhm.
so should we look at the others and see if there's language on those that might be useful? To stick on this, one?
There are a couple more below that we
Yeah.
haven't seen yet, I think.
Right, there's more of them.
Okay. So number 4. set yourself
Yes.
five.
Here we go, that's good. We opted up.
Now, yeah, now this is my favorite.
I think this was mine when I was looking at it before too.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
And
Of
I like
course,
the
it
fact that,
implies that the
you know,
house
we
that
see the
is there
fishermen, the
is-
idea of steering, you know, you're steering your energy use towards aggregation.
Yeah.
So I like this sort of effect of the image there.
The only thing about these two, my favorite color has been blue since I was 5, but we need a little bit of green.
Mm,
Okay. So if we could take this one here that says the second from last and found a place where we could put some green in without disturbing the reading of it. Yeah. Okay.
If the background behind the QR code and the background at the bottom of the screen where it says Gloucester-CEA.com, if those were green instead of blue, the city seal would continue to have a blue border around it.
Yeah. And if the green didn't clash with the fisherman.
What if we put local green electricity as green letters?
Yeah,
That'd be
Yeah,
nice.
That's a good one.
that would work.
And leave everything else the same, or also put the other greens on?
No, leave the others, leave it with just local green electricity green, but make sure it's a nice color with the fisherman.
A good
I got
Kelly
it.
green.
Yeah, I got it. This person is a real, his name is Fogelman, I think, and he's a real graphics designer. You know what I mean? That's his job. So I'll run this by him.
Yeah.
And if he comes up and says he thinks it's better to do the green in the 2 patches that you mentioned before, will you leave it with me to let me accept his decision and go forward with it? Okay.
Do any of you think that we should vote and, sort of select the number 5 version?
With
That-
some green.
I have a question. Is there a budget for this?
We don't have to pay anything.
Oh,
So
who
it's
pays
sort
for
of-
the sign and the designer and everybody?
Good energy.
Good energy.
Excellent.
So, yes, so there's already a budget in our contract with Good Energy that involves some marketing materials. But Bob, I definitely want to connect further. Right, I think you should be having this conversation with myself and maybe David at the table. So we can also work out those logistics of, right, how much, how many of these, how much of that budget do we want to be using on yard signs? And I know in Melrose, for example, the way they run this program is, they rely on volunteers to bring signs, pick up, drop off signs at different folks' homes. So, if that's something you want to take point on, or how we'd want to, the logistics behind doing something like this, I think it's a good idea. I know other towns have done it. Yard signs are a really simple way to kind of peer pressure your neighbors a little bit to find out about this program. And so, but yes, we need to have the conversation about, what this would cost in total and what part of that budget for marketing that we'd like to use through Good Energy.
And
Absolutely, Gemma.
just the signs, those kinds of logistics too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with what Gemma said.
Yeah.
So,
And Gemma, I would be even, I would go a step further and say, I would be glad to just be there to shepherd along and make the transition with you as the point person, or David and you, whoever, however you want it, and just for the transitioning type of thing, but then do whatever I can to help make it happen. But I would really transfer you over as the point person to carry, the concerns as you
do
wish.
the budgeting.
Yeah, who's
Yeah.
gonna come up with all the volunteers, Gemma?
Yes, I
mean,
don't.
I'll be glad to help make that happen. If I can
But
do it any sort
volunteers?
of late,
You think
absolutely.
a volunteer force?
I don't know, Linda, that's probably a great way, but Gemma, I was just thinking, that what would happen is that somebody would see that one's going to be on my lawn as soon as I can get it out there.
Me too.
And okay, there you go. And I'm expecting people to say, hey,
What is this?
why is he doing it and I can't do it? You know what I mean? So word of mouth is how what I thought, Linda, but absolutely. I mean, you can
I'm not
think-
trying to be, but I mean, I've done things like campaigns and trying to get people to put up signs. There's a lot to it.
okay.
And
Okay.
it blows away, whatever, it's just, So it's gonna, it really is gonna take some thought, how many people are gonna get these things, what if they just want one, but they didn't opt up, and I mean, it's just stuff, it's stuff.
Mhm.
And Gemma's gonna get stuck with it.
Well, Gemma, I'll be
I'm
glad to
helping,
help
Gemma, I'm
out.
helping.
I'll follow your lead. I'll be glad to help out to make this happen, because I think it's really, I mean, right now, if people knew what we had done for Gloucester with this aggregation program to their electric bills, if they knew it, they'd be coming around and showering us with gifts, because it's a big savings right now, huge savings right now.
So if I could add a thought, so maybe part of this program, maybe that letter to the editor in the Gloucester Times, should be written and put into the paper, just to give everybody a heads up how the program is successful, and look forward to, what this next step is with yard signs that you'll be seeing around town.
Cool.
I think you need a multi-pronged approach to really get the visibility out there.
I think
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yes, I think all of you also know that we did do a little bit of press related to community electricity aggregation when the rates went up. It was mostly targeted at, helping folks to make sure that they check their bill and see what their supplier, who their supplier actually is. Are they still on National Grid basic rate? Are they on a third-party supplier? I've definitely seen some folks who were on third-party suppliers. They either didn't remember going onto a third-party supplier, or they didn't know they were put onto a third-party supplier. So we really geared that initial outreach towards folks who really, really would be hit hard by that increase in the rate, and not necessarily towards folks who could opt up. But I think there's room to do that, and it's something we want to do. It's in the CARP, and you all are our connection to the community. So, and I also, I think we can make it work.
I do too, I'm just
and
saying,
I
it's nuts and bolts.
Yes, I agree. And I
Having
appreciate
been one of the nuts and the bolts, I mean, a lot of times it's like, hey, where'd you go? Where'd you go?
Yes, I appreciate that, Linda, and Bob. I really
Sure
appreciate
you do.
for-
You've been in it
I
for a couple
appreciate
of
you,
years.
Bob, also for pulling this together, doing some of the
Great.
legwork, kind of keeping it moving, because it's one of those things that's important, but it's not necessarily always at the top of the priority list. And I think there's a lot of interest in community electricity aggregation. I've had calls to my office all day today, people who just got their November bills and
Right, exactly.
most of those folks are folks who want to go onto the basic rate. But I think there's also folks who might already be in aggregation who might want to opt up and see the benefit of doing that.
Yep. So I don't know how to move forward with it, but I'll contact you, Gemma, and we'll make some next steps. I'll contact the guy and say, can we set up a meeting? And I'll contact you, and I'll contact you, and whoever else needs to be contacted, you bring in who you want. And then
Sounds good.
we'll meet with them and finalize it and move forward from there. Okay.
Sounds great.
Thank you very much, folks. I'm really happy.
Now, Bob, you're not off the hook yet, because we
Really?
also had put on the agenda an update on some of the research you've been doing into offshore wind.
Yeah,
And
you mean the
share that with us?
grid, the graphic of the wind turbine?
Um,
I sent something and said, how about if we put up this? I did an Excel spreadsheet over all the years of our having the onshore wind turbines in Gloucester, with the amount of revenue that came in each year in a bar chart.
mhm.
And I was thinking about, I think there was a suggestion by someone that maybe it could be in the upper right-hand corner of the Clean Energy Commission page on the website, on the Gloucester, website. And it just shows all the revenue that has come into Gloucester because of the wind turbines. And I've got every year there. I don't think I have 22 yet. They haven't put out 22's numbers yet, but I have every year to 21 on a bar chart showing 200,000, 250,000, 320,000, all that money coming in. So that's what I was
Bob,
proposing.
would the link to that bar chart be what we'd put up on the CEC page, webpage, or how would people see the
I
inspiring
put a little
figures?
graphic. I put a little graphic up there that just shows the bar chart and just every year when the new numbers come out, you just expand. I also sent to everybody the Excel spreadsheet that could be used to going forward. And you just add another line to the tiny little database,
Mhm.
and the graphic automatically includes, the new year's data and shows it, and it compresses. So each year you put up the little graphic up there in the right-hand corner. It could be just like a screenshot graphic. Doesn't have to be an interactive one or anything like that. Just a little screenshot graphic, and shows all the money coming in with this wonderful thing.
Somebody has revamped at least our clean energy page, and I suspect other boards and commissions, and it would appear to be that they're being standardized. Am I right? I didn't look really carefully, but ours is totally changed. I mean, and I think that's probably they just standardized all of them.
Gemma, do you know anything about whether there's been, some sort of website cleanup?
Yeah, so well, there was a little bit of rearranging on my part to consolidate a lot of the information about as part of the CARP as a resource for people to kind of see what we've done in the past, consolidate that information. So previously there was some of that information was on the climate and resilience planning page, and some of it was on the Clean Energy Commission page. And I moved all of that to the climate and resilience page, planning page. So, and then at the bottom of the Clean Energy Commission page, there's a link, just so all that information is in one place. And I think is some information about the municipal wind there, and sort of how it's done. But those pages sometimes languish a bit, and they don't get updated as much as they should get updated. Just because it's one of those things that falls to the bottom of the to-do list. But we do have some information there about sort of the outcomes in terms of municipal wind, and I don't think it's bad to put some information about the actual revenues from that on there. I'm always a little hesitant with the software that we use to do our websites. Images are sometimes hard, like they don't always show up well on everybody's computer, but unless you put them in like a specific spot that the website has defined as the place where you should put an image. But I don't think it would be bad to take a second look at that little blurb, and maybe put some of that information about revenues. I mean, that's
Wind revenues.
It's a success, right? We definitely want to try and communicate our successes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's all I'm trying to say there.
Yep.
It's significant. It's
Yep.
big bucks.
Well, I certainly like that idea myself. I think that if we can highlight it a little more by using whatever the website software is, effectively to showcase some of that revenue information, it would be a good thing. I don't know that we need any votes on this topic either. Gemma, do you feel the need for us to go on record in any way, or can we just do this?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to just, put a little bit more info into that blurb on the website. It's something, I try to keep up to date with, but it's one of those things that you gotta try to get to it when you can get to it.
Okay.
Excuse me, Candace, I do need to drop off our call. So I just wanted to make note of that.
Okay, and let's just double check that we are left with 4 members. And I see 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 4 of us, and maybe 5. I can't see
5.
Sam right now, but he's probably just on the.
All right, thank you. Thank
gallery.
you.
Here.
So long, Deborah. Thank you for being here.
Happy holidays. Thank you.
You
Happy
too.
holidays.
Thank you. All right, we have one more agenda item tonight, under this section of member reports. We spent some time at our last meeting taking a look at a proposed ordinance that would be a way for the city to express a commitment to bringing renewable energy into any of its municipal building projects. And the original draft of the ordinance was made available by Jeff Worthley, who was one of our city councilors. And I have asked him if he could be present tonight to comment a little bit further. He and I have talked about, some of the interesting ways that other communities have done similar things through either ordinances or resolutions. And I would love to have him tell the CEC about the window that he's found into, doing a little bit more research about this ordinance before it's considered again, by the city council early next year. Gemma, could you have Jeff Worthley become a panelist so that we can see him and hear him?
Yes.
Thank you. There he is. Thank you, Gemma. Hi, Jeffrey.
Hello, Candace. Hello, everybody. How's everyone going? How's everyone doing? I'm sorry.
We are doing fine and appreciate your being here. And I would love it if you could share with the commission. You have done some research in conjunction with work by the Mass Municipal Association on this type of ordinance that talks about the municipality's policies for its own construction. And I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about that. I've forgotten the name of the person that you've worked with there, but this is just the kind of thing that we would like to see, as a basis for figuring out what would be an effective thing for Gloucester to do.
Sure. So thank you for inviting me to this meeting, Candace. I appreciate our conversation earlier today.
Oops. I just lost your sound, Jeff.
Yeah, I don't have them either.
Jeff.
Oh, no.
Sound.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure exactly why that happened. I just want to say thank you for inviting me to the meeting today. Thank you for all that you do. And thank you. I want to congratulate Gemma on her new position. I think we're in great hands with her leadership there. So again, when I started this idea, it was
Oh, no.
Dear.
Jeff, you're off again. What did you do last time to bring your voice back in?
not sure why that's happening.
Do you have to,
There-
do you have to dial in, call in through a phone because you have not enough throughput for a picture and a phone?
No, I shouldn't have this problem. I'm just closing a bunch of windows to see if that's the reason. Hold on a second.
Okay,
That might make things a little more efficient. Let's give it another try, and if,
we can hear you now.
okay. Again, I'll be quick just in case. I said thank you to everybody on this committee. Thank you, Candace, for our conversation earlier today, and congratulations to Gemma for her new position. I think we're in great hands. So I brought this I introduced this a couple months ago. I had this idea a long time ago, but the idea is both a green-friendly initiative and also a financial planning step here, which is if it costs us a little bit more money in the short run, but it saves the city money in the long run, then that's beneficial to all the taxpayers. So there's a balance of both sides of that coin. And I've been in touch with, I'm going to struggle pronouncing her name, but Ali DiMatteo. She is one of the members of the Mass Municipal Association staff. And she's also put me in touch with another staff member, Josie Alberg, who is their energy efficiency, in the energy efficiency division. So they haven't found a city that has a specific ordinance for municipal buildings yet. They're looking for that. They've looked over what I propose, and they like it. They've been in, I don't know if the MMA endorses individual cities or towns initiatives, but they've been very helpful. They are also researching. They put a message out to all the cities and towns that they work with to get some other feedback to see who may have something. I know that there are some communities who have it just as a sort of way of life, right? They just decide as a community, this is important. And I think in large part, Gloucester has had that leadership over the years. What this ordinance would do would be make sure that no matter who's in office, whether it's popular or not, that we say, let's make sure we look at this element from a financial standpoint and a planning standpoint. And I think the part, Candace, that we've been talking about is that as the city hopefully moves forward with the stretch code or any other initiative that private residences and businesses will have to comply with, there's a strong value in the city having said, and we do this too, right? I've worked in the trades, and I've worked for the Chamber of Commerce before, and I can already hear the arguments that could come up, which is, this is a burden, it's going to cost money, it's going to be arduous. And I don't want to speak for the Chamber of Commerce, just that mindset of, the short-term impact. And then the argument could be, and the city doesn't even do that as well. And this initiative would take that off the table to make it a sort of a even playing field, that the city is taking this seriously. It's a great message to send. And, there's a lot of municipal buildings. I was talking to someone who said, well, it's kind of late for this because this building's already done, this building's done. There will certainly always be new renovations and new municipal buildings. As you may know, there's a loan authorization for $19 million to renovate the police station / courthouse building. I haven't seen any data on this yet, but I'd love to see that be reflected, that renewable energy and sustainability is reflected in that. The fire department, the fire station building, the new water treatment plant. Obviously, every school at some point will be replaced. So it's really about putting something on the books that requires the conversation to happen before it gets to be too late. It's already built into the loan authorization. I think, as Bob had suggested, in the architectural plans, in the designs, all before it even gets to that point. And so with your leadership, you've been doing this for years, and this is a way to put it pen to paper on municipal buildings, not just as a policy for everyone in the city, but for our own buildings. I think that the next Ordinance Administration Committee meeting is in mid-January. And in a perfect world, between now and then, maybe one or two of you and I meet to kind of go through some of the specifics of the language, to bring something back to the Clean Energy Commission in January for your review and approval to then send to the City Council. That would be a perfect time frame for me and the council. Again, I don't know the council's overall plan, but the Ordinance Administration Committee meets, I think it was January 17th is their next meeting. So I don't know if you have another meeting between now and then, but if we could, that could be a good jumping point to say we've come to some conclusion on some of the language. Is that fair?
I would nominate Sam. Seriously, you really do have a handle on all of the ins and outs of how these things play out.
No, I think absolutely, Jeff. I'd love to talk to you about, what, I guess the question is, what exactly do we want to put in there? Is it going to be an overall standard or an idea? Like, I know at one point you're like, maybe we should consult the Clean Energy Commission before any construction. As I said before in that brief email, there are some very simple things that you can do that are limited expense at the time while a building's open and there's no insulation, or like the framing is exposed, of just running conduit from the rooftop down to the mechanical room. That's an easy, simple way to make a building ready for solar. I think another big one is the infrastructure for EV charging. So, electric vehicles are the future of hopefully municipal vehicles. But so, you can easily put in the necessary wiring or a new panel to put it in place so that you don't have to install the EV chargers now, but so that infrastructure for the building is there when the time comes. I think those are two big ones. And then obviously, as we mentioned before, the first steps, insulation, and kind of goes into the stretch code, right? Insulation and weatherization, and making the buildings a little bit tighter.
Yeah, so firstly, I listened to your meeting from last month a number of times, and I was very impressed. And especially, Sam, you just rattled off idea after idea, and I was just
what I do all
meeting-
day, unfortunately.
It's okay. In the meeting,
Now look.
in the meeting when you said it, I was like, yeah. But the reaction was really like just wow. I don't even know how to engage at that level. So I was very impressed. So, but after watching a few times, I thought we could put the specificity into the ordinance, but things will change and there'll be new ideas down the road, which, you know, we could amend an ordinance. Or what I had proposed in the last draft was maybe there's not an approval, because I don't know that the law would allow one committee to say yes or no to a project, but some expected review on municipal buildings that would come here, so that you could be
Or a
specific.
consultative process or something like that we could do.
That's kind of built into our role as a CEC. We're advisory to the city.
Right.
And, so that I think that there's a structure that already exists for us to, to raise the goal of as much green construction as possible in our city projects.
Yeah, and so if we make it so it's project by project, then as new things come along, you'd have the latest and greatest ideas on how to improve the energy efficiency. And so that might be a different way to approach it, which is instead of trying to bake in all the standards, we bake in a process where whatever entity is proposing this new building or renovation would have to come. And again, we want to be very sensitive to they should have to come, but maybe there will be compromises and maybe we don't get everything we want, or the Clean Energy Commission doesn't get everything they want out of it, but there's a step before it gets to the council, we would say, for example, have you consulted with the CEC before we get to that point? That way, look, this is, when I think about any legislation, I don't think about me, I don't think about the current mayor, my colleagues, I just think, okay, we want to put something in place that no matter who's in office, there's a process that they don't skip that step. And when you look at the current buildings, for example, this renovation for the police department, I haven't seen anything yet, but I doubt that you've been consulted on this project. The senior center, I don't think the Clean Energy Commission has been consulted. Now, maybe you have, and I don't know that. So I don't want to be dismissive to that possibility. But as far as a procedural step, we haven't seen it as a council, at least this year. I'm on budget and finance. We haven't had input from your committee on any of the loan authorizations for buildings. So
The way Candace just said, we are an advisory commission. We, way back when it was formed, we said we don't want to be a board. We don't want to be in a position of getting sued. We don't want to have that kind of power. I don't think it would be appropriate, but we can make suggestions and recommendations. But to stay with it on that, just, hey.
advisory. Right.
Yeah, I mean, to really emphasize the fact that it's advisory, we could recommend, like what we do now for other things.
So I guess the question I want to ask.
In a position of approving or disapproving, because who are we? Actually, we're not engineers. I mean, Sam, yeah, but that's just not a position we want to get into.
Yeah, and legally and politically, that wouldn't necessarily be appropriate.
Oh.
But I guess the question is.
We lost you, right? As you
We
said.
lost you, Jeff.
Jeff, hang on, Jeff.
Jeff, yeah, we lost you right after you said, this is the question.
There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know why that happened. So hopefully I wasn't in a strange position when that froze.
Nope.
So I respect the advisory role, and I'm sure that there are people who check in with you for advice. But is there?
Oh,
We lost you. We lost you again.
Lost you again.
Was that a curse word you said there, Jeff? I couldn't hear it.
Oh,
There's no explanation why this is happening. I got full
There we
signal.
go.
I've got full.
so we don't want to be trying to be building inspectors or the engineering department, I mean, that's kind of the extreme of it.
I do think it's wise, as Jeff said, to with the rapidly changing industry, the green construction that it is, and renewables. I think it is wise to keep it subject to each project and not have set a standard now that would be,
Yeah.
obsolete.
Is there a number I can call in to make sure that there is no?
Oh, there we go.
Is there a
Yeah,
number I can
what-
call in?
But what's our phone number for the Zoom meeting?
Jim, is there any way that he can have a more reliable sound connection through a phone?
Yes, let me pull up the,
I see a US number of 1-689-278-1000.
689-278-1000.
Yep,
Yes.
and you might need a webinar ID, but we can give that to you.
Okay,
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
okay, I need that ID number.
857 9087 2303.
Thank you, Sam.
No problem.
I'll mute this now.
Not yet.
You're muted, Jeff. Try.
Doesn't work on the phone either.
Try unmuting.
Gemma, do you have to allow an attendee that's calling in to have
yes, let me see if he's in, okay, I see him now. Let's see, allowed to talk.
Yep, talking permitted.
Um,
Still not coming in.
still has
He's-
a,
He's muted. Can you unmute, Jeff?
He's
My
muted, but he
screen.
tried to call in.
yes, we
Then-
don't want his, we want his phone to be unmuted, not his, so I believe you press *9, is it, to unmute? Let me see. Unmute on Zoom.
No.
*6, try *6.
Let's just try with the normal Zoom and see if you can unmute and talk and
Okay,
yeah, and we can just try
I'm
this
sorry
and
about
go,
that.
and if we get cut out, we get cut out.
And we do need to
so
wind
we've
up.
already
pretty
taken up a
soon,
lot of
Jeff.
time on this.
Yep.
Well,
May I
so
just
the bottom
quickly
line
ask
is
a-
that Jeff and Sam are gonna work on some language that we will look at. How's that?
And
Yeah,
that's fine. That's fine. I just
Yeah,
wanted
yeah,
to.
feel free to shoot me an email, Jeff. I think you have my email.
I do. Thank you, Sam.
So Jeff and Sam, just to tie this together, simplify it. So the stretched standard and the specialized stretch standard apply just to residences, but do they not apply to corporations? Do they not apply to municipalities, or do they apply to corporations but not municipalities? And Jeff, you're trying to bridge that gap. Is that what's going on here?
So yes, I'm trying to bridge that gap. I don't know, and I think Gemma said she might be able to check. I don't know that municipal buildings are subject to this. They may be. But in a lot of cases, municipal buildings don't go before zoning boards or conservation commissions or planning boards. So I don't know what step there would be where they would be compelled to have to comply with a
I
code.
see. Well,
right?
That's important. Yeah, that's very
And
important.
even there's stuff that we can do that wouldn't be code related.
Mhm.
That,
Mhm.
you know, like I was talking about the infrastructure stuff, putting conduit in. That's like when people ask us about for solar, like how do I make our house solar ready? Simple. You put a conduit from the attic to your mechanical room, and then it
Right.
like means they don't have
Right.
to do that on the outside of your house or stuff. So there's stuff like that that, you know, I keep pretty clued into what's going on in construction as far as, you know, electrification and stuff like that. So you know, that's something I have to do anyways. So I can easily kind of keep that going.
So I have a lot of confidence in you, Sam, and between the two of us, we could really dig into this. And if it's okay with the committee, maybe right around after the new year, we send something around. Again, we can't be deliberating as a group, or you can't be deliberating as a group.
We can share information, but we can't deliberate
Right.
outside of a meeting.
But then at your next meeting, if there's sufficient information, the group says, this is the language we like. It comes back to the ordinance administration committee, and if that committee likes it, then they send it to the city council. Does that seem fair?
they probably need a legal review too. Because
yeah.
of ordinance. I mean,
Yeah.
I
That sounds-
once ONA's got it, they would know what happens next, but it's all the layers, but legal
lots
for
of
sure,
layers.
because, you know, we don't want Sam being responsible for this.
And,
Oh, he did it.
you know, I think that ONA includes people who are pretty knowledgeable about, you know, clean energy matters, and that will be yet another resource.
Yeah,
I think that the city's been remarkably fortunate to have great receptivity to clean energy concerns
Yeah.
thus far, and that, you know, our city council and our Clean Energy Commission, I think are both, you know, real resources for moving forward in this manner. So, Jeff, I've got to wind this up pretty soon. Do you have anything else you'd like to say?
I just want to say, if I may, again, thank you. At the last meeting, I complimented your committee in a way that I understand why some councils may have seen it as a knock on them, and I didn't mean that. I just want to make sure that I apologize to the council. I just want to make sure it's clear here. There was never an intention to be hurtful or condescending, anything. I complimented how smart this group was compared to other meetings I've been on, and I didn't mean that as a knock on the council. So I just want to make sure it's clear that everyone here knows that I know that I didn't intend anything to be hurtful like that.
That's certainly well taken, Jeff. I just wanted to ask you, you mentioned something about when our next meeting was, and since we only deliberate in our meetings, is there something that's happening before our next meeting where a letter to the organization, such as the architect of the new police station or something like that, is that what you're referring to? That we would like to be involved, or could we possibly help, or something like that, so that we don't miss some deadline that you were referring to?
Yeah, so I would argue that that would be something, and I'd probably consult with Gemma. The loan authorization is coming back to the Budget and Finance Committee from the mayor's office. And so, you know, this ordinance is not going to be ready by that point. But if there is a dialogue that can happen, it's probably an administrative function at this point, and not a legislative one from the city council. So I don't know if I don't know what mechanism is in place already for this kind of review. So, or if there is one, maybe Gemma would know if there's internal.
Is it related to a new municipal building that if we don't get word into them about our concern about X, Y, or Z by the 15th of January, there won't be any input? It will move ahead? Is that what's happening?
I know that it was before the Budget and Finance Committee at our last meeting last Thursday. It was withdrawn, not withdrawn, it was asked to be continued to our next meeting, which is the second Thursday in the month. It doesn't mean it will be voted on there. We could take our time reviewing it as a subcommittee. I'm on that committee. But I don't know that there's a process in place for renewable energy or energy efficiency to be factored in. And frankly, I don't know that would happen at the Budget and Finance meeting at this point. Our language is simply, do we approve the loan authorization? And we're not a design committee or a planning committee that would dig into that.
Okay.
Right, we're just looking at the numbers.
Yeah, that's great. Okay.
But I think for the input, I would say maybe through the administration, through Gemma, or through the mayor's office directly, that might be a place to have some input on that.
This might be the moment that we try to pick a date for our January.
All right,
meeting.
I had before I do raise my hand, I just wanted to clarify before,
The minutes.
just for Sam's clarification. Jeff, subsequent to our meeting and the CEC meeting in November that you attended on December 5th, I and Candace was part of another draft of the ordinance. And I had given my input to you. So are you going to work off of that draft with Sam?
Yes. So I think the latest draft that I put in, that I sent to the committee, and I hope with your approval, I think it did factor in the conversation at the last meeting. Did you feel that was the case?
No, when we talked, you and I talked for the O&A meeting, that was going to be, I believe, on December 5th.
Mm-hmm.
That we tried to attend and weren't acknowledged, which we did attend, Candace and I. There was like a reference to new building. We discussed that, to delete that word, and there were some changes suggested. So I wasn't sure which sheet you're working off of this.
So
I
that
will work off the most current one, which I will circulate for everybody and directly to
would be
Sam.
great.
Okay, all right. And
Thank you for the
then,
input, Linda.
when we did attend the O&A meeting, apparently this was tabled until the January, is it 14th O&A meeting?
17th.
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 Okay, so is that the goal, is to get it in front of them with, what you're will be working on with Sam to get it in front of the O&A by January 17th, or are we gonna be commenting before then?
And let me just say, the only way we can comment before that meeting would be if we were willing to meet January 11th, which is a Wednesday. The third Wednesday of January is the 18th, which would be the day after the O&A group meets. So would people be willing to get together on January 11th?
It's okay for me.
It's okay for me.
I'm just checking to make sure we got our dates correct because O&A meets on Mondays. And I want to see,
I'm just going by what day is the 17th for
Right.
January 2023.
right, and that's a Tuesday though, right? Oh, no, wait, hang on.
Nope. Yes, excuse me. Yes, it's a Tuesday, the 17th.
Give me a
So I'm
moment.
asking.
Just one moment. Let me see if I can figure this out. I guess the first thing would be the earlier you'll be meeting, the better, right? And just in general.
Yep.
But I want to make sure that we don't have it. So we end up still missing the meeting though.
If CEC members could indicate whether they're available on the 11th, maybe we schedule for that one. And I should say also, Gemma, is that okay for you? Because we need your participation as well.
11th looks good for me.
It's questionable for me, but
What about Gemma? Is she there?
Yeah, so I do have something at 6:30 that night. We usually go a little later than 6:30.
We could start early.
Why
Or
don't we
keep our
just,
meeting
why don't we
concise.
just end? Yeah, why don't we be
Yeah.
concise?
I don't think we'll have too much on the agenda as well, so we can try to keep the agenda a little bit tighter, if that
Okay,
works
I
for you.
will poll the members for availability for the 11th, which is the second Wednesday in January. And that would give us a chance to review whatever the latest draft is and talk about it before the O&A meeting.
Great. And I will connect with Sam and the two of us will work diligently to put something forward for you to review before your meeting.
Okay, well, that
Okay.
sounds great.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And we appreciate the work that you're doing. It's all in one of our most important causes.
Thank you,
So, board members, are we ready to have a roll call vote to adjourn?
Okay, so we're agreeing to, just so I'm clear, January 11th, next meeting, 5 o'clock. And do we have any other parts? Yep, seems that we don't have any other participants on the phone right now.
Let me take a look under attendees. It looks like that I see one name, attendee, listed as under attendees, but there are no names. So
All
I
right, so
think
no
that
one's asking to. speak.
yeah, and I don't see any
No
raised
hands up or
hands.
Anything like that, so.
All right,
All right, here goes. I move that we adjourn the meeting of the Clean Energy Commission. And I will ask for first my own vote on that. I vote aye to adjourn. Linda Saunders,
aye.
Bob Myers,
Aye.
Sam Zergabel,
Aye.
Linda Brayton.
I.
And is there anyone else here? Nope, we've had all the members who were present have now voted. So thank you so much for coming this evening and for your good work, and happy holidays to everybody.
Happy
you too.
holidays. Thank you, everybody.
Good
Thank
night.
I.
Goodbye.